I have people writing to me continuously, help me, help me, help me, or furnishing me information. I get letters all the time. I'm a cult member. I want to get out. Where can I do? Where can I go? You talk about getting out, what we're going to do here. Okay. And I can't help them. I have so many letters I can't respond to them. And they don't dare go to law enforcement because law enforcement will turn them in. Our system has been infiltrated, top to bottom, by the Illuminati. And I'll go into that in just a few moments. So we covered Pearl Harbor, Jack Kennedy Jr., Bobby Kennedy, Waco, Koresh, went into town every week to buy groceries. They could have arrested him when he went into Waco. Instead, the BATF came out with tanks, military tanks, in violation of Posse Comitatus Act that was passed years ago, 100 years ago or more, that did not disallowed, as a matter of fact, the military to become involved in civilian matters. Ruby Ridge, Randy and Vicki Weaver. Vicki was murdered by Horiuchi, the FBI sharpshooter of Japanese heritage. They tried to indict him locally for murder, and the FBI, Louis Freeh, stepped in, director of the FBI at the time, and did not allow it to happen. Somebody tried to indict him at the federal level, and it didn't happen. I talked to Randy. I gave him some of my research on one occasion, and he's very distraught. He lost not only his wife, but his child. The World Trade Center car bombing. Now, I'm telling you these things. We're talking about dirty business. We're talking about conspiracies. We're talking about murder. By the way, McVeigh was recruited out of special forces. The government said, he flunked out. He didn't flunk out. He wrote a letter to his sister. And believe it or not, these guys make mistakes in the news every once in a while. And I've got a copy of that newspaper article that appeared in the Dallas Morning News. And in that article, he said in his letter to his sister, who, by the way, has changed her name and moved down to South Carolina, I think, or North Carolina, South Carolina, that he'd been recruited out of special forces to be trained as an assassin and to become involved in the CIA drug operation. So, okay, back to the conspiracy. I'm going to jump around a little bit, but as I think of things, I'll fill in for it. October 28, 1993. Here's the article, right out of the New York Times. What this article states, this is a former 43-year-old former Egyptian army officer, Iman Salam, S-A-L-E-M, was an FBI informant with the terrorists, World Trade Center bombing, February 26, 1993. And he was commissioned by the terrorists to put the bomb together. And he went to his FBI handler. This is in the article, by the way. And the handler said, he said, we're going to use a dummy bomb. The handler says, no, we're going to use a real bomb. The FBI not only in advance, they were going to bomb the World Trade Center with the car bomb. They furnished the ingredients for the bomb through Salam. Now, the way this came out, it came out during the trial of the terrorist. Ahmad Yosef was the head terrorist. He's in jail now in Terminal Island, California. Is because Salam wore a body mark when he met with the terrorists at the FBI instruction. And he very wisely wore a body mark when he met with the FBI. It undoubtedly saved him. I'm sure he made about 6 copies. Okay, and passed them around. That's how this became known public. So the FBI was involved in the World Trade Center car bomb in 1993. Oklahoma City, April the 19th, 1995. That, by the way, April 19th, is a satanic holiday. Okay? Now, I passed out this flyer to everybody in the audience. If you didn't get one, I want you to come back to my table and get it. And I give away 3 DVDs. Child Spook Kidnapping Exposed, Federal Reserve Fraud, TWA Flight 800 Altered Evidence. So for $25, I give you this and the 3 DVDs. I'll have to mail the 3 DVDs to you. But in this catalog, the reason I'm bringing it up now is because I have a collage. The first page, it shows George Bush, the president. It shows Anton LaVey. It shows Russian leaders with Putin, a fellow meet with Putin. It shows the Spider-Man on TV. Your kids watch that, of course. And it shows the Bush daughter and Bush's wife, all given the satanic sign. Okay. Now this is hook 'em horns, okay, with 2 hands. The satanic sign is this with the left hand. And that's how they recognize each other. I pulled up alongside some guy in a hot car in L.A. the other day, when I was in L.A. And I was admiring this car. It really was a neat car, you know. I've always admired cars. I gave him the high sign like this. And I think he thought I was giving him the satanic sign. He gives me this back. So it's very common. It's very prevalent. By the way, there are about 4 million practicing Satanists in America today. And the way I derive this figure is one of my informants in South Bay, California, L.A. area, said there's about 3,000 practicing Satanists there. That's 1.5% of the population, figuring 200,000. Lincoln, Nebraska, about 200,000. Another source, there's 3,000 practicing Satanists. Another source, Iowa City, Iowa. These are 3 different sources, don't know each other. 1,500 in a town of about 100,000. If you project that figure, it's about 1.5% of the population. That's one hell of a lot of practicing Satanists. That's over 4 million practicing Satanists. This calendar that's in this booklet gives you the holidays and what they do. For example, April 19th, Oklahoma City, from April the 17th through April the 25th. They practice Good Friday, Day of Passion, Death of Christ, blood, human sacrifice, male only. And then on the 8th, that's on the 17th. On the 18th, Easter Eve Day, blood, human sacrifice, male or female. That's why there's 50 to 60,000 humans sacrificed in this country every year. I get that from 3 different sources too. And then April 21st, sacrificial preparation. 22nd, abduction holding. 23rd, ceremonial preparation of the individual up to the 25th. And April 26th is the grand climax. Oral, anal, vaginal, a female, 1 to 25, age 1 to 25. April 30th goes on, talks about blood, animal, and or human sacrifice, any age. Okay? These people meet in cellars. I know of cult members who, when they built their home, they built a sub-basement in their home deliberately so they can have their sacrifices. Do you remember the McMartin case in California? Child molestation case back in the 70s, the 80s? Actually, in the 80s, I said. Well, the kids, there were 5,500 kids that went through that school over a period from 1966 until this situation was alleged to have occurred, the molestation of kids. The parents would drop the kids off there in the morning, go to work, come back at night, pick them up. And long story short, there were, some of the kids claimed that they were molested during that period. Kids said there were tunnels under the school. And the authorities went out there in 87 to look for the tunnels. Couldn't find any. I had an opportunity to gain, there was a trial, hung jury on Ray Buckey, the accused. And Virginia, the grandmother was acquitted. And they retried Ray Buckey in the second trial. I had an opportunity to take control of the property. And within 34 days, we hired an archaeologist. What happened is the family had given that to Danny Davis, the attorney who represented him in the trial. It was a 2-year trial. And he also got $15 million from the county. And Danny Davis had sold it to a contractor. This was after it was over in 1991. And I heard about it, so I went up to the contractor that owned the man that owned the property, and I said, let me get on that property. Hired an archaeologist from UCLA. Within 34 days, we documented that there had been tunnels under the school. The kids said they were taken through the tunnels, up into a trap door, the triplex next door, put in automobiles, and prostituted. 2, 3, 4, 5-year-old children taken out into the community used as tools. And so we documented that there were tunnels under the school that had been filled in. I called the DA In the second trial, the DA refused to do anything about it. They sent an investigator out who wanted to argue with the archaeologists. But anyway, getting back to the Oklahoma City. As a result of Michael calling me that day, saying that's my bomb and so on and so forth, I started doing some research. And I have the Defense Daily, page 450, which is a magazine. And it lists the contract number for that particular bomb. The barometric bomb. And the official name is Electrohydrodynamic Gaseous Fuel Device Bomb. And the contract number is here, DAAA 21-90-C-0045, June 14th, 1990. I wrote to the Picatinny Arsenal people in Picatinny, New Jersey, and I said, I want the contract, because this is public, available to the public. I get a letter back, this response to your Freedom of Information Act, blah, blah. After research and review of your request, please be advised there's no information pertaining to that particular contract. Now, recently, one of the individuals who bought the bought the report, wrote to Picatinny Arsenal a second time, and they said that going back that many years, the records have been destroyed. We can't tell you if there was or wasn't. Yeah. I wrote to Dyna Nobel. They're the ones that actually manufactured it. And I received no reply. I said, here's the contract number. I understand. I knew through Michael that you were the ones that manufactured this particular bomb. They never bothered to respond. I wrote to them on September 21st, 1995. The afternoon of April the 19th, there were 4 TV stations in Oklahoma City, all of which came forward and announced that there have found some unexploded bombs in the Murrah building. Every one of these, I have these clips, by the way. And one of the announcers even said, now we're going to know where these bombs came from. One of them has U.S. Army stenciled on it. Okay, I have those clips. I wrote to the FBI, and I gave them my report. And I highlighted the fact that there were some other bombs in the building that everybody seems to want to overlook. Never received a response. The same as with the kidnapping of the children. I put a report together called The Finders, which is the CIA name for the kidnapping organization out of Washington, D.C. It was exposed in 1987, partly because of the work that I did. And as a result of the work that I did, U.S. News and World Report put out an article on it. And they went out of business. They've relocated, I understand, through my informants, operating out of a church in Wichita, Kansas. So, the editor of Firehouse Magazine, I got a copy here. See, I'm like Pat. Pat said he won't take it from one source. You got to get it from at least 3, right? And also, I search for the records. Okay, and Pat does the same thing. And so I know Jim does too. Any good researcher's got to do this. So you can't go off half-cocked and make statements that aren't true, because you'll be embarrassed later on. So in this magazine, Firehouse Magazine, the article was written by the editor of the magazine. And he gave a timeline on Oklahoma City. Now, what actually happened, I believe, is General Parton and I were at odds. I kept saying this bomb exists. He said, I was involved in arsenal work in the late 70s, and there's no such bomb, and so on and so forth. What I think actually happened is the barometric bomb went off, and minutes later, or seconds, time later, the conventional bomb went off. And I think that they used the barometric bomb, the first blast, and then another conventional bomb went off milliseconds later. And the other 4 bombs that were taken out of there were to have gone off at the same time, but there was a deflect of some sort. So that's why they took the 4 bombs out of the center Murrah building that didn't explode. Indicted him locally for murder, and the FBI, Louis Freeh, stepped in, director of the FBI at the time, and did not allow it to happen. Somebody tried to indict him at the federal level, and it didn't happen. I talked to Randy. I gave him some of my research on one occasion, and he's very distraught. He lost not only his wife, but his child. Jr., Bobby Kennedy, Waco, Koresh, went into town every week to buy groceries. They could have arrested him when he went into Waco. Instead, the BATF came out with tanks, military tanks, in violation of Posse Comitatus Act that was passed years ago. I have people writing to me continuously, help me, or furnishing me information. I get letters all the time. I'm a cult member. I want to get out. Where can I do? Where can I go? You talk about getting out, what we're going to do here. Okay. And I can't help them. I have so many letters I can't respond to them. And they don't dare go to law enforcement because law enforcement will turn them in. Our system has been infiltrated, top to bottom, by the Illuminati. And I'll go into that in just a few moments. So we covered Pearl Harbor, Jack Kennedy 100 years ago or more. That did not disallowed, as a matter of fact, the military to become involved in civilian matters. Ruby Ridge, Randy and Vicki Weaver. Vicki was murdered by Horiuchi, the FBI sharpshooter of Japanese heritage. They tried to indict